This episode was originally recorded for a guest segment I did on the XXXMas Special episode of Everyone Has a Podcast, a comedy show hosted by my friends Adam and Bryon. I'm your host, Emily Prokop, and this is the story behind Christmas traditions. You may have heard the rumor that the modern-day depiction of Santa, dressed in red and white fur, with a large pot belly, white beard, black boots, and a large black belt, may have been spawned from the Coca-Cola advertisements of the 1930s, especially because the red and white were corporate colors. But that rumor's false. The jolly large man depicted almost everywhere is a bit of an amalgamation of lots of different influences, such as Washington Irving's Christmas Stories or Clement Clarke Moore's A Visit from St. Nicholas, otherwise known as The Night Before Christmas, plus other illustrations and iterations of Santa Claus that date further back than the first Coca-Cola ads depicting him. Speaking of A Visit from St. Nicholas, it was Moore's poem that first introduced the names of Santa's reindeer. We now know them as Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen. But did you ever wonder what Donner and Blitzen meant? All the other names make sense, and you've heard of them, some meaning fast, some associated with merriment or love. But then there's Donner and Blitzen. Those weren't actually their original names. In the original 1823 publication, they were named Dunder and Bliksem, which are Dutch words for thunder and lightning. Some later poems changed their names to Donder and Blitzen, which are the German words for thunder and lightning. But when Johnny Marks wrote the prelude for his recording of 1949's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, he used the spelling Donner from the original Rudolph story written by Robert L. May. As you probably know, decorating a Christmas tree with lights isn't a new tradition. Candles were hung and lit to celebrate the holidays for centuries, especially around the end of December, when lights were used in more religions than just Christianity to help people deal with the long nights. But the holiday lights we know now can be attributed back to Thomas Edison, who was looking for a way to advertise his incandescent bulbs. So he decorated his Menlo Park laboratory, which happened to be right within eyeshot of those commuting on the nearby train. And by the time the tradition took off to decorate with lights, bulbs were so expensive it was common for people to rent them for the holidays instead of buying them. Even though this is one of the many legends out there, I still love this particular story about candy canes. In 1670, a choir master at the Cologne Cathedral in Cologne, Germany, had the idea to give children in the church's congregation candy so they wouldn't disrupt the Christmas Eve service. He asked the candy maker for some sweet sticks, but he also wanted to use the candy as a lesson pertaining to Christmas. So he asked the candy maker to put a crook in the sweet sticks to represent the canes of the shepherds who visited baby Jesus. It's also said that the red and white colors of traditional candy canes are intentional, white representing the sinless life of Jesus, and red representing the blood he shed. One more Christmas tradition I wanted to touch on is the 24-hour marathon of A Christmas Story, which when I had cable, I insisted be kept on the whole time, since I was never in one place long enough to watch it from start to finish. But the story behind the movie can arguably be even more intriguing than the movie itself. Director Bob Clark heard Gene Shepard's radio show based on his book, In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash, while driving to his girlfriend's house for a date. He loved the story so much, he ended up circling the block for an hour while listening to it. He would be the ideal podcast listener. At the time, he was a fledgling B-list director, without many credits to his name. But he wanted to bring Shepard's story to the big screen. And it took the success of his movie, Porky's, to give him the credibility as a director to pitch A Christmas Story. The studio wanted him to direct a sequel to Porky's, and Clark agreed, but only on the condition that he could make A Christmas Story first. Don't forget to check out more holiday fun from the guys at Everyone Has a Podcast. Find them at ehappodcast.com. Thanks for listening.